When you move identity from Active Directory to Microsoft Entra ID, the sync tool shapes the whole migration: architecture, authentication, operations, and risk. So how do you choose between Entra Connect Sync and Cloud Sync? Let's make that decision practical. At this point, we have the foundation for a synchronization decision. Active Directory gave us the on-premises identity model, security controls, DNS, group policy, and assessment inputs. Entra ID added cloud identity, roles, SSO, and modern security. And with the migration models defined, cloud-only, hybrid, or coexistence, we can now choose the right sync architecture. Synchronization tooling is the bridge that makes hybrid identity work during migration. It controls which users, groups, passwords, and attributes move between Active Directory and Microsoft Entra ID, and how quickly changes appear. The choice also affects authentication behavior, provisioning, security controls, and daily operations. If the tool does not match the target design, teams may run into missing attributes, inconsistent sign-ins, recovery limitations, or avoidable rework. This is not just a connector decision. It is an architecture decision tied to coexistence, cutover, and the future cloud identity model. Entra Connect Sync uses an on-premises Windows server as the synchronization engine between Active Directory forests and Microsoft Entra ID. Add data is imported into the sync server, processed through connector rules, attribute flows, and filtering logic, and then exported to the cloud directory. This model is powerful because it supports detailed customization for complex enterprises, including multiple forests and special attribute requirements. The trade-off is operational ownership. The server must be patched, monitored, backed up, secured, and maintained throughout its lifecycle. Filtering determines what is allowed to move from Active Directory into Entra ID. In a staged migration, it prevents every user, group, device, or service object from syncing before you are ready. You can scope by domain, OU, group membership, or attributes, depending on how the business is organized. Design the filter around migration waves and application needs, not just directory structure. And always validate dependencies first, especially admin accounts, service accounts, and application groups, so a pilot does not accidentally break access. With Entra Connect Sync, the authentication choice affects both user experience and operational risk. Password hash synchronization copies a protected form of the password hash into Entra ID, so sign-ins are handled in the cloud. That makes it simpler and more resilient during outages or maintenance. Pass-through authentication keeps validation against on-premises Active Directory through lightweight agents. It can satisfy stricter requirements for local password validation, but it adds dependency on those agents, networks, and domain controllers. In migrations, PHS is often the safer default. High availability with Entra Connect Sync is not active-active. The active server is the only server exporting changes to Entra ID and Active Directory. A staging server runs the same import and synchronization logic, but exports are disabled, so it can validate data safely. That makes it useful for upgrade testing, disaster recovery, and planned failover. To promote it, you disable exports on the failed active server, enable exports on the staging server, and monitor closely. Resilience comes from documented procedures, configuration backups, tested recovery steps, and controlled failover, not automatic failover. Cloud Sync uses a different model: lightweight agents instead of a full on-premises synchronization engine. The agents sit close to Active Directory, read the required identity changes, and communicate securely with Microsoft Entra. The key shift is where control lives. Rules, scoping, and provisioning settings are managed in the Entra Admin Center, while the cloud service coordinates the sync work. This reduces server footprint, speeds up deployment, and supports multiple agents for resilience. It is a strong fit when you want streamlined AD to Entra ID provisioning without maintaining a full sync server. A cloud sync deployment is usually simpler to stand up. You prepare Active Directory, choose domain-joined servers that can reach the directories you want to synchronize, install the provisioning agent, and register it with the tenant. From there, you define scope, attribute mappings, and filtering in the Entra Admin Center. For production, deploy more than one agent. That provides high availability and allows provisioning work to spread across connectors. Then, validate test users before expanding scope. The result is less server overhead and simpler operations. Cloud Sync also fits well when identities live in more than one Active Directory forest. Instead of forcing every forest through one central sync server, you can deploy lightweight agents in each environment and manage synchronization from Entra ID. This is useful for subsidiaries, mergers, acquisitions, or forests separated by network or ownership boundaries. The caution is planning. Users must remain uniquely identifiable across all forests. Pay close attention to UPN design, source anchors, matching rules, and duplicate handling so separate directories become one clean tenant, not a set of conflicting identities. Both tools solve the same core problem: getting identity data from Active Directory into Entra ID reliably. The difference is how much control you need and where you want to manage it. Entra Connect Sync is the heavier, mature option for complex enterprises, custom attribute flows, and advanced synchronization rules. Cloud Sync moves more management into the cloud, reducing server footprint and operational overhead. It fits simpler or distributed environments, especially cloud-first strategies. The decision is not which tool is newer. It is whether your requirements demand deep customization or favor simplicity and cloud-managed operations. A good tool decision starts with requirements, not favorite products. First, look at directory complexity: single forest, multiple forests, basic attributes, or heavy customization. Then match the authentication model, such as password hash sync, pass-through authentication, or federation needs. Next, be honest about operations. If the team cannot reliably maintain synchronization servers, that matters as much as features. Finally, weigh the long-term identity strategy. An organization reducing Active Directory dependency may choose differently than one investing in hybrid management. The matrix turns these factors into evidence, so the recommendation is defensible and aligned with architecture. In practice, the choice becomes clearer when you start with the organization's situation. A large enterprise with complex rules usually benefits from Entra Connect Sync because it supports deeper customization. In acquisition or distributed forest scenarios, Cloud Sync can be easier to deploy and manage centrally. For cloud-first teams with simple Active Directory needs, Cloud Sync reduces operational overhead. But if hybrid coexistence requires advanced filtering, transformations, or write-back dependencies, Entra Connect Sync may still be the safer path. After selecting the tool, treat deployment as a controlled transition, not a switch flip. Start with a pilot group or limited OU scope and expand only after the basics are proven. Validate attribute flows, sign-in behavior, group membership, licensing, and application access with real users and real support paths. Put monitoring, alerting, ownership, and documentation in place before production scale. Also define rollback criteria, so the team knows when to pause or reverse. Finally, revisit the design as legacy dependencies shrink, because today's bridge should still move you toward the long-term target state. Your synchronization choice is an architecture decision, not just a tooling preference. Entra Connect Sync fits complex, highly customized environments that need mature control. Cloud Sync fits lighter, cloud-managed deployments, especially across forests. Anchor the decision in identity complexity, attributes, authentication, operations, and migration goals. Next, we'll connect this choice to legacy dependencies, risk, rollback, and governance planning.